It's on. Okay. Can you all hear me okay? It is on. How's that? That better? Okay. I have a few notes just to be sure I don't leave anything out, so excuse me for checking them. First thing, I want to welcome all of you for being here. I'm just really pleased with the attendance at all three of these presentations, so I really do appreciate your support and your willingness to come and learn more about your brain health. Before I start, I would like for you to, if you have a cell phone, be sure to turn it so it doesn't ring and bother your neighbor sitting next to you or wherever in the building, in the room. If you recall, the session last week was focusing on relaxing your brain. And what's really interesting is that right after I got back home, I had an email from an anonymous individual who sent me a poem that went along with relaxing your brain. And they asked if it would be possible to read it to the group. So while you're checking your phones to be sure that they're turned off, I'm going to read it to you. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see when woods we pass where squirrels hide those nuts in the grass. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. So I have relaxed my brain. I hope you've relaxed yours and you are prepared for today's presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Movement is not only good for your body, but it's even better for your brain. Movement can improve your brain power to help increase, repair, and maintain brain cells, and it makes you more alert throughout the day. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. To talk to us more today about fitness and movement, we have our fitness instructor here with us today, Ms. Tracy Collins.
Thank you, Melissa. Hopefully you can hear me good. So, increased movement. That's another word for exercise. They told me not to say exercise, so I might say it a couple times. So we are here today to talk about what does it mean to increase movement. If I told you I had a secret that would help reduce age-related cognitive decline and maybe actually improve your brain's cognition function, would you want to know the secret? Who wants to know? Actually, 3 people in this room know the secret. They're sitting on it. If you would reach under your chair to see if there's a piece of paper on it, there's 3 pieces of paper under 3 different chairs. If you have the paper, stand up. Excellent. Mr. King, could you read your paper? Exercise. That's the secret. The other secret, would you introduce yourself, please? Movement, the word to replace exercise. And in the back? Physical activity. And what was your name? Carrie Dale. Thank you so much. So, the secret is physical activity, movement and exercise, right? I don't care what you call it a pineapple. Just do it, right? This is the secret. So while genetics and age are outside of our control, the secret to your brain's cognitive health is regular physical activity. It doesn't have to be at the gym. It could just be walking, going to the grocery store. Move it or lose it. Physical activity can help prevent neurological diseases, reduce age-related cognitive decline, and improve your overall health of your brain. So in the past, you may have thought of exercise, movement, or physical activity as a strenuous thing to work your heart, your muscles, and your bones. But really, what good are all those things without your brain, right? Why do I have to move, Tracy? I've worked hard. Can I rest? I'm retired. Your brain is shrinking, okay, if you don't move. That's what we want to prevent. Actually, in the beginning of your 30s and 40s, your brain begins to shrink. That was news to me, okay? I am 56. The rate of shrink increases, of course, just like everything else. It rapidly speeds up after age 60. You experience a reduction in your brain cells. The decrease in your neuron connections between the brain cells happens. Therefore, the brain begins to shrink. So, what can I do about this shrinking? These neurons that are shrinking, those are the things that allow you to feel, move, and comprehend the world around you. Neurons are responsible for receiving sensory information from the external environment and relaying motor commands. Motor commands. How do I keep my mobility? How do I stay independent? Neurons can die as a result of things like a stroke, head injury, Parkinson's, Huntington's disease. When I lose neurons of the brain cells, I can't complete daily tasks. So I don't want these things to go away. I don't want my brain to shrink at all. I have difficulty initiating movement, like I'll get stuck. I can't get going. I may experience uncontrollable movements, right? Because the connections are short-circuiting. Memory problems like names, dates, events, locations, how to get from A to B, all that starts going out the door. Challenges with communication. My verbal recall, what's my vocabulary? Oh, there it goes. What's the name of that thing? What's that thingamajigga? Right? That becomes my new word, thingamajigga. Even paralysis can occur because my brain cells have died. So, physical activity can combat your shrinking brain. So now all of you want to know how to increase those neurons, right? So what is this a picture of? Does anybody know? Van Gogh, what is it? Maybe? It looks beautiful, doesn't it? You're looking at stem cells from the brain that continuously divide and create large spherical masses. And when exposed to the chemicals of the brain, they turn into neurons. So these are the stem cells that help you think and do what you need to do all day for your independent living. You have a superpower. Does anyone know what their superpower is? You can create neurogenesis. In the past, it was believed that you could never have new neurons, new connections, new brain cells. That is by the wayside. You are in charge of producing more neurons if you move, physical activity, exercise. Neurogenesis is the process by which new neurons are formed in the brain. Remember that. So when you're out walking, somebody says, "How do you do?" Say, "Just doing my neurogenesis," right? Then they'll go, "What?" Tell them all about it. Okay, exercise can generate and protect new neurons. It can increase the volume of your brain. We want a big fat brain, right? We don't want a shrunken one. This leads to overall improved cognition and health in general. What is the key to that? Variety is the key to what? Physical activity, movement, and exercise. Just let that roll off your tongue all the time, right? Some physical activity might be bicycling. It doesn't necessarily have to be coming to aerobic classes, right? Or working out at the gym. You could do brisk walks. You could take an exercise class. That would be great. But I need a variety. You can lift weights. You can lift groceries. Just move and exercise. Variety is the key. Just like our next presenter is going to talk about diet, you need a variety. The same with exercise. Just think that way. So, aerobic movement, here at the bottom is the aerobic exercise. It improves your cognitive ability. What does aerobic mean? With oxygen, right? So I need to raise my heart rate for it to be aerobic. So if I briskly walk, my heart rate starts beating a little faster. That's all you have to do. You could certainly come to aerobics, bicycle, and do all those other things. I just need an increased heart rate for aerobic. For aerobics, if you do aerobic movement, you will have sustained attention, selective attention, divided attention, long-term memory, working memory, logic and reasoning. Who doesn't want that? Auditory processing, very important. Visual processing, because when I move in space, my eyes and my ear helps me decide where I'm going and I don't fall, right? So if you practice that, practice makes perfect. Resistance training, weight bearing, carrying the groceries, anything that is weight. If I push or pull, lift or squat, any of those things, and if I'm carrying something heavy, moving things around that are heavy, that is all weight bearing. You don't have to go to weight training classes. You can simply carry your basket of laundry, your groceries, do weight bearing activities where you walk and your weight hits the floor, right? Squat up and down at your couch. All these are very simple things. What does weight training and weight-bearing activities do for my brain? This is the most important, I think. It gives you executive function. What the heck is executive function? Do I become the president? No. Okay. It's adaptable thinking, planning, independence, self-monitoring. I can monitor my own medications, right? Self-control, time management. I can get somewhere on time. I understand time. And organization. How important are all those things? Very good, good. So the American College of Sports and Medicine, which is an accredited entity, and lots of other places say the exact same thing. How often do I want to exercise? Most days, typically I take 1 day of rest. So most days I'm doing things. When you were working, you were doing things most days, right? So now that you're not working, you just need to do stuff most days, okay? So 150 minutes a week of aerobic activity and 2 days a week of that weight-bearing stuff that we talked about, the push, the pull, the lift, whatever it is. Recommended aerobic 150, that's actually only 2.5 hours per week. How long do you watch TV? While you're watching TV, do brisk walk, right? Just kidding. So that sounds like a lot, but actually, you can do 6 to 10 minutes a day of aerobic activity, and you can make a difference. So it's not unreasonable. 6 times what? You know, we said 2.5 hours. You don't have 2.5 hours a week. Try it. Do your best. Here are some suggested exercises to do for aerobic activity. Anything that increases your heart rate is aerobic. So dancing, swimming, water aerobics, bicycling, yard work, raking, mowing. My heart rate is going, right? I'm raking. By the time I finish, I need a bunch of water, okay? That's a good sign that you're working hard. Golf. A lot of people here play golf. I've heard it, so don't say you didn't. Strength activities. Weight bearing. Remember we talked about it's a weight. You push or pull a weight or you lift. Some of the things you can do are, lifting and carrying things in the garden, carrying your groceries. You can do Tai Chi, which was introduced at the last session. That's weight bearing because I'm balancing my weight from side to side, walking, weight bearing. I don't have to do brisk walk, but I could just walk. That's a weight bearing activity. I can do lunges, all of those things. The other thing that is suggested for older adults is balance to prevent falls. So we're adding that in today, okay? And we're going to do a demonstration of that. This is someone balancing. We lose our ability to balance, and then we fall or take spills. Not fun. So you want to practice standing on one leg, walking heel-toe. Stand to sit is a big one, okay? Making sure you can get out of a chair. You can walk backwards. You can strength train your legs and abdomen as well. We're going to do a practical now, so I'm going to ask you to stand behind your chair if you're able. If you're not, just please stay seated. So we're going to check our balance here. Just doing a couple of these exercises. So the first one we're going to do, I put these pictures up here, so in case you can't hear me, you can see the picture, right? Okay, so standing beside my chair, I'm going to begin with toes front, and I'm going to lift my leg out to the side. I can hold the chair or not, okay? Fingertip it or hold. You pick. Check the other side. What's happening? Are you better on one side than the other? Yes. Good. Thank you for talking. Yes. Did you hear that? Yes. So which side would I want to practice a couple more repetitions on? Yeah, the other side. Exactly. So we have this paper outside. When we finish, please grab this paper. Let's go to the second exercise here. Single leg knee lift and a reach balance. So same arm, same leg reaches. I'm just going to hold here. You guys are so awesome. You're already doing it. So I'm going to lift, and just make sure you don't hike your hip up to get your leg up, right? Hips are square. Yeah. Try the other side. Remember we got two sides? What's happening on the other side? Maybe. Are you doing this at home? Who's watching us at home? You better be doing this. And release. Leg lift to the back. Hold the back of your chair. Straight leg lift. So this is important to walk for mobility. I need to be able to extend my leg for mobility. Soften that knee on the supporting leg. Hold here. Right? Can I do it without holding? And switch. How's the other leg? Different? Watch that chair sliding. Be careful. I don't know why that's sliding. I think it's the floor. She's really challenged. She's moving and balancing. Release. We're going to do, I don't know if you can see this because my chair is kind of in the way. Rock the boat side step. And I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to hold on for sure because I'm rocking the boat. So I'm going to lift one knee up. And then I'm going to switch to the other leg. So it's a one-legged stance. And if I fingertip it, I can challenge myself a little more. No hands. I can really challenge myself, right? Rock the boat. Just think of the song, rock the boat, baby. Don't tip the boat over. Good job. Last one, but least, go to the front of your chair. We're going to sit to stand. So I'm going to extend my arms in front of me before I sit down. And I'm trying to do an unsupported sit down, okay? I know that's tough, and if you have to cheat and put an arm back, it's okay. Here we go. Make sure the chair's back there. And sit. Good. And then we're going to do the reverse. Ready? And lift. Exhale. Sit down and lift. Wonderful. And have a seat. Good job. Give yourself a hand. Thank you for doing that exercise with me. I know that wasn't expected. I'm sorry, movement, physical activity. We can call it anything you want. Just so you know, Connie and my name is Tracy, as Melissa introduced me. We are working in the fitness center, and as an in-house service, we offer personal training for you. That is free, okay? And basically, we usually do 2 sessions of 30 minutes a week to help you. And you can just come and talk for 1 day. It doesn't matter. Just call us. We are there in our office or teaching classes at the pool or the studio or in the gym. So just hunt us down, call us. For 6 weeks, we would do 2 sessions a week for 30 minutes with you. We don't have to do that. We could just do an orientation. The McCabe's came for an orientation recently. So they look fine, right? They look good. So anytime you want to come and talk to us, we can talk about, did you lift your groceries? It doesn't have to be workout in the gym and the studio. It could say, I went for a walk around the pond. We can set all that up with you and talk to you about how your movement is going and what you're doing to move more. As always, before you start moving, you need to consult your physician to make sure you're cleared for movement, right? In case you've been through a surgery or something. Please be safe. We don't want anybody to get an injury because then you can't exercise, right? We want to remind you that Wednesday, May 25th, we are having Senior Health and Fitness Day. And just like this presentation today, Connie and I will have fun and exciting things for you to do. We're going to have refreshments. We're going to have displays with other great information about your health so you can take care of yourself and remain independent. These are the references for the PowerPoint. And I want to thank you.
Give me 1 sec so I can pull up the next presenter. All right, make sure we have everything queued up. Uh-oh. Where is it? Sorry, guys, I'm not the tech person. Let me get back up here. All right. Are you going to act right this time? There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So the link between diet and brain health has long been anecdotal, but we now have evidence that consuming certain foods and limiting others can help avoid memory and brain decline, protect the brain against disease, and maximize its performance. Eating well is more important even now that we know that diet can affect our brain health and overall health too. To talk more about nutrition, we have our dietitian here, Ms. Kristen Illum.
Good afternoon. How's everybody today? Good to see so many people today. Oh, okay. Hello. I guess I'm gonna have to I'm gonna pull it off. All right. Is that better? Okay. It's good to see so many people today. This is amazing. So we're gonna talk about nutrition and brain health. Let's see. Let me get acclimated. Help, Melissa, help, help, help. Let's see. Oh, am I? There we go. Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Okay. I love this quote. I always use this in my presentation. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." Remember what your mom used to say, we are what we eat? We are what we eat. So we have a couple questions that we're going to address today. We're going to determine if there's any food and food-brain aging connection. We're going to talk about what types of foods boost brain health and slow brain aging. We're going to briefly talk about slightly supplements. And then we're going to see how we put it all together to make it a system or a way of eating that is doable. So just some statistics here. 60 to 80% of all dementia is reported as Alzheimer's dementia. And currently, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the U.S. and is estimated to affect over 5 million Americans. Now, it gets a little scary here because look at the projections. The number is projected to jump to more than 7 million by 2025. And then by 2050, 115.4 million. That is frightening. So there has to be, yes, yeah. So, as you guys have gone through these different sessions, you've talked about various things that may impact brain aging. We just had Tracy that talked about movement and exercise. You can see that here. Stress. Alinda talked about stress and that. I'm going to talk about general health nutrition. And that's something that we can really, really work on. It's something that we have control over. This is a diagram. We have our individual in the middle. And as you can see, some of these factors we cannot control. We cannot control our gender, right? We cannot control our genes. The ApoE4 allele is the gene that's identified to be associated with Alzheimer's disease. So if you're born with that, there's nothing that you can do about it. However, look how many factors are that affect cognitive decline, but we have control over, right? We can control our weight, obesity, right? We can control our weight. Lifestyle, right? That includes exercise, stress, things like that. Diabetes, right? That's diet related, right? So is obesity, right? And then dyslipidemia, that is, altered lipid metabolism. That's diet related, isn't it? Right? So we've got quite a few things here that are diet related, right? So we're going to talk about that. So what comes, and I'm sorry I have a typo on there, I just realized. What comes to mind when you think of a healthy diet? Can anybody tell me what? Give me some ideas. Yep. Anything else? What you got? Low fats, reducing fats, Grains, whole grains, okay, good, okay. Water, yeah, hydration. So we don't want to have the attitude that Mark Twain had. Look at his face, he didn't even look happy. He says the only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. Okay, we don't want to be like that. We want to have a good attitude, right? So I'm going to be using the word diet, but I don't want you to think diet. I want you to think lifestyle or a way of eating. Because a diet, and especially in our culture, it means something that you do and then you stop doing it when you reach the goal. Now, we want to do something, make little changes that is something that we can incorporate into our lifestyle. Okay, so I'm using the word diet, but I want you to think lifestyle, okay? So Melissa had showed me a book that I guess the group was reading, Sharper, what is it called? Stay Sharp. by Dr. Sanjay Gupta. And so I read the book, and in the book, when he was talking about nutrition, he had referenced this study. And it's in a diet that was developed from this study. Now, one thing you need to know about nutrition studies, it's, unlike pharmaceutical studies, first of all, nutrition studies are really difficult because a lot of them are observational, right? You can't put people in a commune for months or years and, calculate what they eat and measure the effects. It's usually observational and survey-oriented. Also, observational in the fact that we know in certain areas people live a long time. We know in certain, for example, like in the Mediterranean, right? We know those people live a long time. They don't have a lot of heart disease and cancer, right? We know that places like in Okinawa, Japan, they call it the blue zone. Those people live a very long time, and they live very healthy lives. So with that observational data, this is how this study was formulated, the MIND study, and this diet was formulated, okay? And so it was developed by the late Martha Claire Morris. She passed away just 2 years ago. She was a nutritional epidemiologist, and her colleagues, they came up with the MIND diet that focuses specifically on foods that help your brain and reduce Alzheimer's dementia. And so I'm going to talk about the study just real quickly before we get into the foods. So Dr. Morris and her team at Rush University, they used 1,000 participants. That's incredible within itself. And it was a longitude, the study lasted from 2 to 10 years, okay? And they took adults from the ages of 50 to 98. They evaluated 3 different diets. One was the Mediterranean, we're going to talk about that, the DASH diet, and the MIND diet. So in the study, they followed, the participants followed one of those diets, okay? Cognitive function was assessed and they evaluated the adherence to the diet plan. All the diet patterns, so the Mediterranean, the DASH, and the MIND diet, decreased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by 50%, okay? But the difference is that those who only moderately followed the MIND diet had a significant reduction of Alzheimer's disease by 35%, or that equates to 7 years, okay? This was not the case in the Mediterranean or the DASH diet. So when people moderately followed the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet, they did not have significant results. So that is what's key about this particular research. Okay, so this particular diet combines the DASH diet, and it combines it's a hybrid of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. And they have identified 10 key foods associated with better brain function and lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. And each of these foods is rich in compounds that have been shown to nourish the brain. And we're going to talk about some of these components. The diet focuses on vitamin E, folate, omega-3 fatty acids, DHA, carotenoids, and flavonoids. So what is carotenoids? Does anybody know what that is? Think carrots. What do we know about a carrot? It's orange, right? So a carotenoid is a color. It's orange-red colors. It's usually beta-carotene. Usually things that are high in carotenoids have beta-carotene. Carotenoids are a group of phytonutrients that protect the body. Flavonoids are also colors. Those are the colors are yellow, like you would see in a yellow pepper, or ivory, like you would see in an onion, okay? Those are also phytonutrients, and they're protective. Also, vitamin E. Vitamin E is found in so many foods. It's found in seeds, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. And omega-3 fatty acids. Specifically, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA, and we're going to talk about that a little further. So this is just real quickly, I just want you to see this. This is the Mediterranean diet. It has some standouts. Like I was saying before, it's based on a certain region of the world where those people have a low incidence of cardiovascular disease and cancers. It's, as you can see at the bottom here, it's very plant-based, okay? Olive oil, where is that? Olive oil is the main source of added fat. And fish, poultry, and seafood are in moderation. And then red meat is only eaten occasionally. So that's the Mediterranean diet. And then this is the DASH diet. This was developed, its dietary approaches to stop hypertension. This is also very plant-based, but the difference is that it's focusing on potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Those are key nutrients that affect cardiac health. It also limits sodium, right, and saturated fat and added sugar. So they're similar, but there are some differences between them. And so our MIND diet, it converged both of the two diets, and it follows some of the same principles, but it has some differences. So this is the MIND diet. This is kind of faded, but we'll work with it. Okay. So with the MIND diet, let's start with the grains, okay? So you need at least 3 whole grains per day, okay? One of the standouts with this diet is that leafy, dark, every day, it's suggested that you have a dark leafy vegetable. And one of the standouts also is that you have berries at least twice a week. And that's a cup of berries. That is one of the standouts with this diet. The DASH diet and the Mediterranean diet, they talk about, lots of fruits and vegetables, but the MIND diet specifically focuses on berries, and we're going to talk about what the components in berries that make them so effective. Also, another component that is different than the other two diets is that nuts and seeds, every day a serving, every day. And we'll talk about the components that are in nuts and seeds. And another component that is different is beans, legumes, and is at least every other day. Wine is actually suggested every single day, and it's 5 ounces. One thing you cannot do is save it up to the end of the week and have 7 servings. It's every day. And they suggest poultry at least twice a week, fish at least once a week, which is similar to the Mediterranean diet. We're going to talk about those components. At the bottom, these are the things that we're to avoid. Saturated fat, okay, with butter, margarine, right, lard, okay. Our main source of fat, like the Mediterranean diet, would be olive oil, okay. Added sugar, right, sweets and things like that, and we'll talk a little bit more like that. Now, I thought this was generous, actually, but we'll talk about what that really means. Pastries, sweets, less than 5 times a week, but we're going to talk about what the recommended amounts are and what that really means. And then fried foods. Limit no more than once a week, which is, a lot of y'all probably already doing that. Okay. So let's talk about leafy green vegetables. Okay, so we're eating these every day, raw or steamed, right? And the thing about leafy green vegetables, there's certain components that are more bioavailable when they're cooked, when they're steamed. You do not want to cook them at high heat because you will actually lose some things in cooking loss. Now, they're good raw, of course, but there are some components that are not bioavailable. Green leafy vegetables are high in antioxidants, right? Vitamin C, vitamin E, they're antioxidants. And I wanted to talk about what are antioxidants. This is what antioxidants do. What do they do? How do they work? Antioxidants are like the Superman of the body. So what they fight all the battles. So what they do is they go in, if there are things in there that shouldn't be in there, they're free radicals, they go in there, they beat them up and get rid of them, right? So antioxidants are, they're critical, and they're found in our food. Oop, let me go back. And so these are three that I just wanted to: beta carotene, which is found in those green, in things that are orange, right, and red. Vitamin E, nuts and seeds and walnuts, also found in meat and in vegetables, and vitamin C, which is found in vegetables. They have had animal studies on these different antioxidants, specifically vitamin E. In animal studies, it's noted to reduce oxidative stress in the brain. Hold on. And vitamin E specifically has been known to reduce DNA damage and loss of neurons. So Tracy just talked about neurons in our brain, how blood flow and exercise was assistive to that. Well, also what we eat helps to reduce the damage to the neurons of the brain. Okay. Why should we eat colored vegetables, guys? Why should we eat them? Why can't we just eat broccoli? Because it'll cover both groups, right? It'll cover the green leafy group and the vegetable group. Because with the Mind diet, you're having at least one of these servings from any vegetable group, any vegetable per day, okay? Non-starchy vegetable. So why wouldn't we just do broccoli, and that could cover for two? What's so great about colored vegetables? It's those colors. Those colored compounds serve as antioxidants. All those beautiful hues that you see, right? The purples, the yellows, the reds, those are antioxidants. They're filled with antioxidants. Think about a tomato that's baking in the sun, and the tomato has protective quality components on it that keep it, right, in that environment. Well, when we eat the tomato, guess what? We get the benefit of those components that are in that tomato. So we definitely like, as with exercise, variety. With fruits and vegetables, variety is key, okay? And specifically vegetables. One thing I did want to note with the difference between the diets, you notice it says brightly colored vegetables. When they looked at the studies, when they developed the Mind diet, they realized that fruits did not make a significant impact in this study. Their focus is on berries because of the superfood component of berries and all the antioxidants. So I just wanted to make that note that fruits are good, but in this particular way of eating for the brain, berries are really, really key. That's what makes this diet so unique. Nuts. So look, even nuts can be interesting. You see those colors, right? Nuts have phytonutrients also. They have phytonutrients. They have all these pretty colors. They have skins on them. They have essential fats in them. They are a rich source of vitamin E. They are also can be a source of omega-3s. So certain nuts are a source of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically like walnuts and flaxseed. They're high in omega-3 fatty acid. We know that those are anti-inflammatory, which they will lower bad cholesterol, right? And that's what we want to do. In the Mind diet, every day. So how could we add nuts every day? We could put it on a salad, right? We can stick nuts in our oatmeal in the morning, throw some walnuts on there, throw a little bit of nuts and seeds on our salad in the afternoon. So we can incorporate them. I would caution you, however, we don't want to, sit there with a container of salted peanuts. That's not what I'm talking about. Next to the TV, okay? And it's only an ounce. It's not a huge amount, but it's used as a condiment, okay? So we're not going to eat a cup of nuts next to the TV, salted nuts, okay? Berries, I had mentioned that before. Berries are, in this study, berries was very key. Berries are full of anthocyanins, which are water-soluble pigments. That's what gives it the colors, the reds, the purples, the dark colors. They also are full of flavonoids. And with berries, it doesn't matter if you do fresh or frozen. They're both equally as good. And the goal is a cup, okay? Twice a week, a cup. So you could stretch that out through the whole week. So with this particular research, berries are very, very key. They are a superfood. So they're an easy, they are so healthy for you, and they can be easily added to things. You can even add, like I said, you can add them in oatmeal. You can add them on a salad. You can eat them on a little bit of yogurt for a dessert at night. There's lots of ways that you can incorporate them. There was a study at Harvard Women's Hospital that they actually gave women 2 or more servings of strawberries each week. And when these women actually had a delay in memory decline by up to 2.5 years. So that's pretty significant. Beans are one of the unique components of the MIND diet. And I notice people don't do a lot of beans. How can we incorporate beans into our diet? Beans, again, the colors, look at all those colors, antioxidants, full of antioxidants. But also with that, beans are full of fiber. Have you heard of probiotics? Well, fiber is a prebiotic, which means it's your GI tract is able to break down soluble fiber in your body, and it changes the microbiome of your gut, if that makes any sense. And there's been studies that they realize that what's in your gut affects your mind, okay? So fiber is a wonderful thing to add to your diet. Again, how come, some people only eat beans seasonally. They only have navy bean soup when it's wintertime. But we need to think about how can we incorporate it into our diet during the year. Maybe throw it on a salad. I love salads. Throw it on a salad. Do soup. So there's lots of ways that, think about how you can incorporate those in your diet. Whole grains, 3 servings per day. And when I say whole grains, I mean, look at this picture. You see, I think that's farro. You see oatmeal. You see whole grains. I'm not talking about nature's own wheat bread in the package. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about brown white rice, black rice, right? Farro, steel-cut oats, things like that. Those are things, again, fiber, right? Fiber is a prebiotic. We want to increase fiber. Also, vitamin E with grains. So think about how we can increase those. And then, of course, fish. This study, they had kind of gone back and forth whether it would be 2 or 1 days a week, but they decided on 1 day a week. Fish is an incredible component to add to your diet because of those omega-3s. And the omega-3s in fish are different than what we have in our nuts and seeds. They're only found in products that come from the sea. So think about a salmon, right? A salmon's in cold water, right? In order to function in cold water, he's got to be supple and be able to move. His body is full of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and those fatty acids are liquid at room temperature. Okay, olive oil is not like that. You put olive oil in the refrigerator in cold water, it's going to harden up, right? So these are very, very unique to animals, to fish that are found in the sea. And so they've found that omega-3 fatty acids, this is specifically DHA, I know you've probably heard this, DHA and EPA. That's what is in these omega-3s. And these are we've found through studies that not only does it help the aging brain, that it also helps the developing brain. Back in the day, I'm sure when you guys were little, if you were bottle fed, if your mom made formula, she made it with, I think, canned milk and Karo syrup. That's how they used to make it. Over research, they found that a component that in mother's milk is DHA, that is, if a baby's breastfed. And they add this DHA to the formulas now for the baby. So it's great for developing brains and also for aging brains. So you guys want to make sure that you some type of cold water fish. It can be salmon, mackerel, herring. You do want to avoid the large fish, right, because mercury is a concern, right? So things like swordfish, or I think, what is another one? Yellowfin tuna, shark. Those are large fish, and they could have potentially higher levels of mercury. So we want to make sure that we incorporate those into our diet. And then we talked about fish a little bit already. And the last thing, poultry, twice a week. Oop. And it's poultry, it's lean, right? It's a source of protein and B12. We can only get B12 through animals. So you notice this diet is not a vegan diet. There is meat in it, and there is fish in it. You can only get B12 through animal sources, and B12 is important for cognitive health, okay? And olive oil. Olive oil, as you can see, the olives, they're green. They're green in color. Guess what? They have phytonutrients in them. They're in the olive oil. Also, of course, we have that monounsaturated fat that we talked about with previously. And those monounsaturated fats, they lower the LDL cholesterol. And the last one is wine. Wine, 5 ounces per day. Wine has a component called resveratrol in it. It's an antioxidant that has been known to be anti-inflammatory. Now, if you're not a wine drinker, they don't suggest that you start drinking wine, but know that you can get these components in unsweetened grape juice or pomegranates. They belong to that same family of that have high levels of resveratrol. So you can drink unsweetened pomegranate juice or grape juice. Foods to limit. Butter or margarine, okay, or lard, okay, less than 1 tablespoon per day. Why? And trans fats. Although trans fats are making their way out of our food supply, these saturated fats are known to cause inflammation, okay? And we don't want to be inflamed. Inflammation causes destruction of the blood vessels, okay? So we want to, and it causes oxidative stress. So we want to limit that to 1 tablespoon per day. And this was a hard one. I was like, what? Cheese? Oh, no. How are we going to do this? So actually, because cheese is hard, right? Hard cheese. Cheese is saturated fat, right? So in this particular mind diet, if we're eating for our brain, 1 serving a week, 1 ounce. I thought to myself, now how am I going to do this? What are some strategies? I thought, well, maybe like the nuts as a condiment, right? So we sprinkle it on our salad. We put it on top of our chili because we're eating more beans, right? We use it as a condiment, okay? So we have to readjust our way of thinking about cheese. And, of course, y'all know this, fried foods. We want to limit those. Fried foods, right, they cause oxidative fat. This kind of fat causes oxidative stress. So we want to limit fast foods and fried foods to no more than 1 time per week. And then sweets. So we want to have less than 5 times per week. But I want to talk about what is this. So we have the recommended dietary intakes. And it's based on a 2,000 calorie diet. And it's recommended that only 10% of our total calories come from refined sugar. So that would be 200 calories, right? So a teaspoon, excuse me. Let me see if I can get to my slide here. A teaspoon is 16 calories. So putting that into perspective, think about if you put sugar in your coffee. You know, it's easy to get to that amount very quickly. Or if you have let's say a bottle of Coke, and I put it, let me see if I can get to it. Can't get to my notes here. Sorry, guys. Okay. A container of Coke has about, I can't remember, it was a tremendous amount. I had it in my notes here, but I can't see them. But a container of Coke has a tremendous amount. You could get your whole daily worth just container of Coke. So your whole week amount, by 1 Coke. So really this diet we should be eating, we should not be adding any sources of sugar. And also I brought this little Nutrigrain bar because processed foods have added sugar. When you look at things like this and when you look at a box of cereal, a box of Special K, there are added, in processing, there is added sugar. So you want to look at those things too and stick to things that are more whole. Now, what about coffee and chocolate? This was not on the diet, but I thought we should talk about it. There have been many studies about coffee and about chocolate. Coffee, with the caffeine in coffee and some of the components in coffee have actually been noted to increase cognition, to increase the ability to do complicated tasks. So I say coffee, it's a good thing, but you don't want to overdo it, okay? This says 2 to 4 cups daily, but you don't want to overdo it. So there's some very good components in coffee, and also chocolate. Chocolate is full of flavonoids. It's high in antioxidants, but it has to be the right kind of chocolate. It has to be at least 70%, and it has to be a chocolate that was not. They refine it, and there's a process using alkaloids, and it cannot be. If it's using that process, it will not be effective. So when I looked it up, M&M Mars, for example, they do not use that process. So any chocolate, if it says 70%, it's good. It's full of the flavonoids have not been destroyed. So these are just 2 components that we can, in a well-balanced diet, we can, add those also. So this is how do we do this? How do we get there? So this is a little faded, but this is like a Mind Diet menu. So look, breakfast, berries, right? Berries on some steel-cut oats, and I added some kefir in there. Kefir is cultured milk. This Mind Diet didn't talk a lot about dairy, didn't talk about dairy at all. I added that in there because fermented foods are good for the brain. So that would be an easy way. And then for lunch, we have bean soup and some vegetables, spinach salad. So the bean soup, we talked about the fiber in them, the veggies, all those good antioxidants, spinach, all those antioxidants, vitamin E, olive oil, vitamin E, omega-3s, right? And some green tea. And green tea is another thing, antioxidants. Green tea is full of antioxidants. And then for dinner, salmon. We talked about salmon, high in omega-3s, high in DHA, good for the brain. Steamed asparagus, that's that additional vegetable. Vegetables are full of antioxidants. Wild rice, whole grains, right? We added some nuts on that wild rice to get that serving of nuts up, and some red wine, just 5 ounces. So that's just an example of how you can incorporate this into your way of eating. And on the back end, I put, this is our special dinner for brain health. So you see we have the salmon, right? Turmeric. That is something I just wanted to mention really quick. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. A lot of people put it on, use it as a cooking agent, or they take it in pills. Curcumin is the active form that has the anti-inflammatory benefit. And one thing about turmeric, which some people don't realize, it has to be combined with black pepper because the black pepper makes it bioavailable. Also in this meal, we have herb farro. That is a whole grain, okay? Kale, right? A leafy green vegetable. That's part of that diet. Beets, that's an additional vegetable. That's great. Olive oil and toasted almonds. She hit all of them on here. I love it, Erin. So this is a wonderful Mind Diet dinner. And so, how do we make it work for us? Do one thing at a time. I don't say change your whole, you got these components, we talked about this. How can you make little changes that are doable? Just like the exercise, you got to start somewhere. Just do one new thing. Give yourself time to adapt to changes. And at any age, you can start now, right? Start now, okay? And these are the questions again. We talked about all of these things. And one more thing I wanted to say, see that word synergy there? Going back to the first slide, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. There are, you can take components out of food. You can take vitamin E out. You can take omega-3s out and put them in a pill form. But there's other components that are not in there. They have found that there's a synergy of different components that they work together that they haven't even been able to research how they work together. But we know things, components, and are best consumed in foods because there's a synergistic effect. And questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes. Yeah. That was not the focus of the MIND diet. So eggs is a source of protein, so you can incorporate them in, but the key components of the diet, you want to make sure you hit the key components like the berries and like the fish once a week and the poultry twice a week and, reducing the fats and the sweets. So eggs can be combined in, I would say, no more than 2 a week. They can be combined in the diet, yes. Potatoes are good so that they would fall into that area of every day we wanted to get a leafy green vegetable and an additional vegetable, so that can be a potato. It's a starchy vegetable. Eat the skin. Always eat the skin on your potato. That's fiber. Eat that skin, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's kind of a Mike Chef thing, but so Mike is very responsive. So whenever I do something like this or even meet with individuals, when they tell me things, I bring it right back to him and say, hey, Mike, this meal, they didn't like this meal, this, and so I will definitely let him know that the portion sizes are large. You want to know if you can have a reduced portion. Am I correct? And in terms of the menu here, and when they have certain specialty menus or doing specific things, they will come to me and ask me. But especially with traditions, by it changing week to week, they've done it and I review it. If I see something that looks crazy, I'll let them know, but I don't make major changes to that, especially for independent, because it is like a restaurant. So, sir, yes. Ooh, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so coconut oil is solid at room temperature, isn't it? Yeah, it's a saturated fat. So I'm going to say, I was looking at this last night. The jury is there are some studies, but there's not a lot. So there are some components of coconut oil that haven't been studied. But the basics we do know, it is a saturated fat, right? And so we know that it's going to, it's solid at room temperature. It can cause some issues in terms of cholesterol and our blood lipid profile. So what I would do, I'm not saying I say incorporate it into a variety of foods. I like the taste of coconut oil. So I use it when I do some of my cooking, but I don't eat it every day. So I think within a well-balanced diet, you can incorporate it. There is not enough research to warrant switching over to coconut oil because some of those other components haven't been studied. So I would say incorporate it into a variety of foods. Yeah. Ma'am? Supplements, what I wanted to say about supplements was the fact that when you pull things out, for example, like vitamin E, for example. They've done studies with vitamin E. They've pulled it out. in the study, given people the supplement, they found that high levels actually can be inflammatory. So there's things, but foods that are high in vitamin E, leafy greens, our nuts, right? Those are good for us. So there's something about the synergy of when things are together in food that are the best, that is the best way to consume it. So, and I didn't go down this path, but there's definitely a lot of supplements and different things like ginkgo biloba or acetylcarnitine, GABA, different supplements that people take for mind health, also omega-3 fatty acids and things like that. They're different, but the supplement industry, you need to understand that it's not, supplements are regulated as food, okay? So they don't have to, they have to meet the profile of food, not of a medication. So sometimes you don't know what you're getting, especially with herbs and things like that. I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying I think it's better to eat a healthy diet. Start there. Eat a healthy diet. Eat your supplements and foods. A multivitamin is great, because, that can just support a good diet. But I would be very wary on doing excessive supplements. And always, if you do decide to do supplements, always speak with your doctor or your pharmacist when adding new supplements to your diet. And the last thing, the source of the supplement. Like, for example, like fish oil. Some are horrible sources. Like they're from, and some are better sources. But the best way to get omega-3s and DHA and EPA is through fish. So, if that makes any sense. Yes, sir. Lettuces like arugula and Swiss chard and spinach, those are those leafy greens. And in the Mind diet, you want at least one serving a day. Now with lettuces, the darker the lettuce, the better that it is. It has all those colors and those antioxidants and those phytonutrients. So the darker, the better. Okay. Sir. Yes, well, the process of canning, what you do, you heat it, you bring it to a high heat, and then they put it in the can, and so it lasts for years and years and years. So that high heating process is destroying. Remember I was talking about, you want to eat your leafy greens kind of sautéed, not cooked at high temperatures because it destroys some of those components. So I would suggest to you for leafy greens, frozen. Frozen is always a good choice. Frozen rather than the canned ones. And also with the can, they add for preservatives sodium. They add a lot of salt. So I would suggest frozen for any, for leafy greens. Frozen spinach, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Ma'am? That is hysterical. You could, but it might not be good for you. That's funny. I know. But, the fried, once a week we want to limit fried foods because we don't want to cause oxidative stress. So limit your McDonald's fish sandwich, please. Any other questions? Okay, all right. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Can you hear me now? I have my phone. First off, I want to thank all the presenters for all three programs. I think everyone has done an excellent job. The thing about it is that if you look back to all three of them, we've incorporated people from across the whole spectrum of Covenant Woods. And the thing is that we wanted to demonstrate to you all that it's a team effort to provide for us the support that we need. It's up to us to access it. So I think we've done a good job of hopefully getting you all to know that. There are going to be some future-related programs in the fitness. They told you about something that's coming up. Melissa has called, and it's on the front of your connections, so check it out on May 27th, a resource fair. It's going to be right in here, so check out all of those. And by the way, according to the meal that you're going to be offered if you choose it in Fireside and Vistas tonight, if you choose the part with the curly kale, I got a note from Jen, who is our master farmer up here at the Farm to Table program, and she said, would you please tell them, if you choose the curly kale as part of your dining choice, resident volunteers to the Farm to Table garden grew this from seed, helped plant and care for it, and today harvested for today's meal. So thank your neighbors for all of the hard work that they did in order to provide something good for your brain. Okay, I know this has been a little bit longer than normal. We had over 80 residents to participate in the first session face-to-face. In the second session, there were 81, and none of this was counting the staff members that were here. But with the phone calls, the emails, and the personal contacts we've had, we know that for those two, over 100 residents viewed these presentations, and we really appreciate all of you who are here today as well. So I think that we've tried really, really hard to give you something that can get you started on thinking about your brain health and what you can do in order to protect it and keep it healthy. We began this series with a sharing of personal experience by one of our neighbors, Andrea. We've introduced you to the 6 pillars of brain health. If you recall, the first was on engaging your brain and staying social. We talked about addressing stress and sleep issues or concerns. Today, talked about the importance of and the impact of movement. And by the way, movement can be, this is going back to a long time ago, but I was working with some seniors, and one of the persons that had come to work with them said, and they had handed out these little silk scarves that, ladies, do you remember when we used to wear them around our neck? And maybe in your high school, you had the 8th graders had on a white sweater with a red necklace. So all of those, I found some of those in my house not too long ago. I'm going, where did they come from? Anyway, but what she had done when she was working with these folks who were not that ambulatory, couldn't walk around the pond and couldn't do the exercises and things like that, she gave everybody a scarf and started playing music, and she just said, do this. Put it in your other hand and do this. That's movement. And the more movement you have, your blood flows, the oxygen goes here. So it doesn't mean you've got to lift weights and all those sorts of things, but exercises and the things that, my brain just died. My brain is not great with remembering names. I'm sorry about that. It's been my problem for years. Anyway, to take advantage of all of the opportunities that are offered to you. Now, we've also encouraged you to utilize some resources that we've made available to you. And fortunately, I checked in the library, and the books are being checked out. For those of you who check them out, please return them as soon as you can so others can check them out. But we're also searching out positive actions towards supporting our brain's health, and some reminders of opportunities and activities that are already available to us right here at Covenant Woods. There's a strong team effort to provide support for us in general and for our brain health. Melissa, you have a few words you would like to share?
No, I wasn't prepared, sorry.
Okay. We were hoping that our CEO was going to be able to be here. He said that if he were, he would like to say a few words, and he obviously is tied up and is not able to do this. So now we're going to come full circle. Now, what you're seeing up here is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and it's their administration for community living. So over these last 3 sessions, we've been talking about brain health and aging, but only the basics. We didn't have enough time to delve deeper into every component, but we were giving you the basics to hopefully get you started in your quest to find ways to keep your brain healthy. So this slide says where to start. Now, I know you can't see all those little circles down in the bottom, so just very briefly, I'm going to touch on them. There's one more, and then we're going to go home. So where to start? It can be difficult to take in all the things that can positively or negatively affect your brain health. And Kristen shared that with you just a while ago. You can't do everything, but pick something. But it said start with one small step in the right direction. We encouraged you to schedule a health screening or a physical exam. Review your medicines with your healthcare provider. Add 1 daily serving of vegetables to your diet. Start a food activity or a health journal. And find your community center's activity schedule, which you get in the connections once a month, and then you have contacts with the girls that are in the fitness department that are very, very willing to give you some advice and to set up a plan for you. So, where do we go from here? We've been invited to contact staff to avail ourselves of departmental and resident-sponsored activities and opportunities, provided resources. It's up to each of us. So I'm just asking you to consider to take the first step. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your support and for attending these sessions. Pick up the resources on the table. Did you want to announce for the committee? You're okay? Thank you very much.